What if I told you that something you do every single day, something completely normal, something you've never once questioned, is slowly breaking your dog's mind? Not physically, not in a way you can see on the outside, but deep inside, in the way your dog thinks, feels, and experiences the world, something is going wrong. And the scariest part? Your dog can't tell you. They can't say stop. They can't explain what's happening inside them. They just absorb it. Every single day. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you is going to completely change the way you see your relationship with your dog. And if you love your dog even a little bit, you cannot afford to miss what comes at the end of this video. Let's start with something that happened to a dog owner named Sarah. She had a golden retriever named Max. Max was the most lovable, gentle dog you could imagine. But something was off. Max had started hiding behind the couch for no reason. He refused to eat sometimes. He was anxious, jumpy, and had started doing this strange thing where he would just stare at the wall for long periods of time. Sarah took him to the vet. Full checkup, completely healthy. The vet said, and I want you to remember this phrase, there's nothing physically wrong with him. The issue might be environmental. Environmental. That word kept haunting Sarah. What was happening in her environment? That was damaging her perfectly healthy dog? Here's what's wild. When a dog expert finally visited her home and observed her daily routine for just one afternoon, they identified not one, not two, but several things Sarah was doing in front of Max that were silently destroying his emotional stability. And when Sarah heard what they were, her jaw dropped, because none of them seemed harmful, not even close. They all seemed completely normal, and that's exactly why this is so dangerous. See, most people think that harming a dog means hitting them, starving them, or neglecting them. And yes, those things are obviously terrible. But the kind of damage I'm talking about today is invisible. It hides inside the moments you least expect. It's in the things you say, the way you feel, the way you move, the sounds in your house, the energy in the room. And your dog, with a brain that is constantly scanning the environment for safety signals and threat signals, is picking up on all of it. Every single moment. Now, before I get into exactly what these things are, I need to explain something that most dog owners never fully understand. Something that once you know it will change everything. Dogs do not experience the world the way humans do. That sounds obvious, but most people don't actually live by that truth. They treat their dog like a small, furry human. They project human emotions onto them. They assume their dog understands things the way a person would. And that's the first massive mistake. Because when you apply human logic to a dog's brain, you end up making decisions that feel kind and loving to you, but feel completely confusing and terrifying to them. A dog's brain is wired at its core around one fundamental question, and that question is, am I safe right now? That's it. That's the engine running in the background of everything your dog does. Every behavior, every reaction, every look they give you traces back to that question. Am I safe? Is my pack stable? Is my leader calm? Is my world predictable? When the answer is yes, your dog is relaxed, happy, and emotionally healthy. When the answer is no, when that question goes unanswered or gets answered with, I'm not sure, your dog's stress system kicks in. And if that stress system stays activated too long, day after day, week after week, the psychological damage begins. And here's where it gets really important. Here's the part that most dog videos will never tell you. Your dog doesn't just react to what you do to them directly. They react to what they witness you doing, the emotions in the room, the patterns they observe, the energy you carry. They are reading you like a book, constantly, and they are building their entire emotional reality based on what they see and feel in your presence. So let's talk about the first thing. And I want you to think about whether this happens in your home. Imagine you've had a terrible day at work. You walk through the door, your shoulders are tight, your jaw is clenched, your mind is racing. Your dog runs up to greet you, tail wagging, pure joy, just so happy you're home. And you greet them back, maybe you pat them on the head, say, "Hey, buddy," but your energy is completely closed off. You're distracted, stressed, somewhere else in your mind. What do you think your dog feels in that moment? Most people assume the dog is just happy to see them and moves on. But that's not what happens. Your dog feels the mismatch. They feel the disconnect between your words and your energy. And because dogs don't understand words the way we do, they trust energy completely. So when your mouth says, "Hey, buddy," but your body says, "I'm in danger, I'm stressed, something is wrong," your dog hears the body, always. And now your dog is confused and slightly anxious because the leader of their pack just came home carrying invisible danger signals. But here's where it goes deeper. This happens every day, maybe multiple times a day. And your dog starts to associate your arrivals, your presence, even your movements around the house with a low hum of. This is why so many dogs develop severe anxiety disorders. Not because of one big traumatic event, but because of hundreds of small, well-meaning moments where the owner accidentally taught the dog that fear is the right response. Now I know what you're thinking. So, what am I supposed to do? Just ignore my scared dog? And the answer is no. Absolutely not. But the how matters enormously, and I'll come back to that. Because first, there's something even more psychologically damaging that I need to show you. Something that targets the very core of how a dog builds their sense of identity and security. Think about consistency. Dogs are creatures of pattern. Their brains are built to find patterns, to predict what comes next, to create a mental map of how their world works. When that mental map is accurate, your dog feels safe. When the mental map keeps getting disrupted, keeps being wrong, your dog's stress system goes into overdrive. Now here's the question I want you to really sit with. Is your behavior around your dog consistent? And I don't mean your routine, although that matters too. I mean your emotional behavior. Do you have days where you're playful and loving, and other days where you're closed off and distant? Do you sometimes let your dog on the couch and other times push them off? Do you sometimes respond to their barking with laughter and other times with frustration and loud commands? Do you sometimes set a rule and then bend it because they gave you those eyes? Every single inconsistency is a crack in your dog's mental map. And too many cracks, and the whole structure starts to feel unstable. A dog who cannot predict their owner's behavior is a dog who is living in a constant state of mild psychological alarm, because if they can't predict you, they can't trust the safety of their environment. And if they can't trust the safety of their environment, that core question, "Am I safe?" never gets a solid answer. What most dog owners don't realize is that love without consistency is actually a form of instability to a dog. You can love your dog deeply and still be inadvertently creating anxiety in them through unpredictable emotional behavior. But here's where it gets truly fascinating and a little unsettling. There's a concept in dog psychology called emotional contagion, and it essentially means that dogs don't just observe your emotions, they catch them, like a virus. Studies have shown that when humans experience stress, their cortisol levels, the stress hormone, actually transfer to their dogs. Your dog's body physically responds to your emotional state. If you live with chronic stress, anxiety, or emotional volatility, your dog is chemically absorbing that. Their nervous system is being shaped by yours. This is why you can sometimes see a calm, well-trained dog slowly become anxious and reactive after moving into a new home with a high-stress owner. It's not the dog that changed. It's the emotional environment they're now living in. And this is where things get dangerous, because most people focus on training their dog's behavior while completely ignoring the emotional climate of their home. They wonder why their dog is anxious, reactive, destructive, or shut down. They try different training methods, they try different diets, they try different toys and enrichment, and nothing works, because the root cause isn't the dog. It's the invisible emotional atmosphere the dog is forced to live in every single day. Let's talk about one more thing that is almost universally overlooked, and this one might be the hardest to hear. Arguments, conflict, raised voices. Think about the last time there was tension in your home. Maybe a disagreement between family members, maybe a stressful phone call where your voice got louder, maybe just a moment of frustration where you slammed something down or raised your voice at someone or something that had nothing to do with your dog. Your dog was watching, your dog was listening, and your dog was terrified. Not because they understood the words, but because the signals they were receiving, the raised voices, the tense body language, the rapid energy shift in the room, were exactly the same signals that in the wild would mean the pack is under threat. And a pack under threat means danger. Real danger. The kind that could mean survival or death. So your dog, with no ability to understand context, no ability to reason that, oh, mom and dad are just arguing about the dishes, is sitting there, experiencing a full stress response. Heart rate up, cortisol flooding their system. Muscles tense, looking for an escape route or a way to make it stop. And if this happens regularly in your home, your dog is spending significant portions of their life inside a stress response they can never resolve or understand. That's not just uncomfortable. That's genuinely psychologically damaging. Over time, it reshapes how their nervous system operates. It can make them permanently hypervigilant, permanently anxious, permanently stuck in a low-level survival mode that robs them of the ability to ever fully relax and just be a dog. Now let's come back to that question. What do you actually do? The answer is simpler than you think, but it requires something that most people struggle with. It requires you to become aware of yourself in a new way, to recognize that your dog is not just a pet living in your home. They are an emotional being sharing your energetic space, absorbing your inner world, and building their entire psychological reality around what they experience from you. When your dog is scared, the most powerful thing you can offer them is calm, grounded presence. Not distance, not cold indifference, but calm, stable, I've got this energy. You can absolutely comfort your dog, but do it from a place of steadiness, not anxiety. Sit with them. Breathe slowly. Let your body say, I am not worried. Because that signal, that calm leader signal, is the most powerful anti-anxiety tool that exists for a dog. Nothing trains out of them what your genuine calm can prevent from forming. When it comes to consistency, start treating it as an act of love. Every rule you hold steady, every boundary you maintain, every predictable routine you give your dog is a gift of safety to their nervous system. You are literally building the architecture of their psychological security every time you are consistent. And every time you bend the rules out of guilt or momentary softness, you are introducing a tiny fracture into that architecture. And when it comes to the emotional climate of your home, this is the deepest work. This is where dog ownership becomes almost spiritual in a sense, because your dog's well-being is now directly tied to your own inner world. How you manage stress, how you regulate your emotions, how you show up in your home, all of it ripples outward and lands on your dog. Taking care of your own mental and emotional health is genuinely one of the most important things you can do for your dog's health. Here's the realization I want you to sit with as this video ends. Your dog chose to trust you completely. On day 1, they handed you their whole world. They didn't evaluate you. They didn't test you first. They just gave you everything. Their safety, their security, their emotional well-being. All of it, placed in your hands without question. And they are still doing that right now, every single day. In every moment they spend with you, they are trusting that you are the stable ground beneath their feet, that you are the calm center of their world, that you will protect not just their body but their spirit. Most dog owners know they need to feed their dog, walk their dog, play with their dog, But the owners who truly transform their dog's life are the ones who understand something deeper, that the greatest thing you can give your dog isn't a better toy or a bigger yard or a more expensive food. It's a regulated, consistent, emotionally safe human to live with. That's what your dog is really asking for. Every time they look up at you with those eyes, every time they follow you from room to room, every time they press against your leg or curl up at your feet, they're not just looking for company. They're checking the signal. They're asking that one question that never stops. Am I safe? And now you know how to answer it. If this video made you see your dog, and maybe even yourself, a little differently today, share it with someone who loves their dog, because so many dogs are living with invisible damage that their owners don't even know they're causing. And the more people understand this, the better life gets for dogs everywhere. Subscribe if you want more content like this, content that goes beyond the basics and into the real truth of what your dog needs from you, because that's exactly what this channel is here for.